So, yeah, a lot of what I personally teach is not even the farming and gardening and all that other stuff. It's what I want to see people, do what they love in the world. I want them to spend their life doing what they love. And the universe, it supports that.
You're about to listen to my first interview, just 6 months after I decided I was going to embark on this podcast journey. It's been a lot of work and learning curves to get to this point, but sitting down with Suzanna has made it all worth it. Suzanna runs a rural homestead with a volunteer program where guests can integrate into a number of activities required to keep the place going. We discuss topics like how to find volunteer managers and administrative support, helping guests find their passions, and how to keep people engaged and happy. She starts us off with a remarkable story about how she was called to come to Costa Rica and live this enriching lifestyle. Finca Amrta has hosted thousands of volunteers over the years, many of whom have had life-changing experience. Let's take a dive into what it can be like to host people in your home and invite them into new ways of living. Hi, Suzanna.
Hi, Jason.
So wonderful to be with you today. As you know, this is my first episode, my first recording, and I really would prefer it to be with no one else but you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be doing this with you. Really happy.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to visit Finca Amrta after it's been some years since I've been here, and really you were one of the first people that we really felt a dear friendship with when we moved here 12 years ago. And for the listeners, I just want to let you know a little bit about Suzanna. She moved here some 27 years ago or so, from maybe more than that, closer to 30.
1989.
1989.
So over 30.
Wow. And came here on vacation. I'll let her tell you a little bit about that. But she set up camp, and she has one of the longest standing, and in my opinion, from what I've seen, one of the most harmonious volunteer programs out of a lot of places that I've been to. And so that's what we're here to talk about a little bit, is how you do it, how you make it happen. And really the spirit of yourself is one of the things that's a major ingredient, but I'm sure you got plenty more to share. But first, tell us a little bit about how you came to buy land in Costa Rica.
It's an interesting story, and I like to tell it because it just shows how life just flows in such amazing ways. But we lived in Hawaii on the island of Maui, and we had an acre of land, and we realized we needed more because we really wanted to be sustainable and grow a lot of food and have animals. And so we looked all over all the different islands of Hawaii, but nothing was right. Nothing seemed right at all. So we ended up going to California because a friend of ours had died, and we went for a memorial. And at that time, we went to see a friend of Miguel's, who's my partner here on the farm. And he had a little 8-year-old boy. And this little 8-year-old boy I fell in love with. And I mean fell in love with. And he told me he had not seen his mother in 5 years. And I went, what? And he goes, no, I haven't seen my mom in 5 years. And I'm like, you need your mother. So I said, if I ever go to Costa Rica, and by the way, I had no intention of coming to Costa Rica. If I ever go to Costa Rica, I'm going to take you with me to see your mother. I just said it because I needed to say it, but we had no plans. We were not coming to Costa Rica. But within the next 6 months, we had decided that we'd come to Costa Rica on a vacation, okay? So when the father of the little boy found out about this, he had just fallen off a roof and hit his head, and he was not doing well. And the little boy told him that Suzanna said that she would take me to see my mom when they go, and they're going, And so the father of the little boy called us in Hawaii. Miguel answered the phone, and the father said, okay, I hear you're going to Costa Rica. Are you going to take Oliver with you? And he goes, what? And he put his hand on the phone. He goes, we are not taking an 8-year-old boy on our honeymoon. And I go, yes, we are. Uh-huh. Okay, so that's the first part of it. The second part of it is that there was a woman in Costa Rica who said, there's a farm for sale in Costa Rica and I really want to move there. Will you go there and check on it and see? Tell me about the farm. And we go, yeah, sure, we will. We're going, So we had forgotten about what she said. And so then we were at the airport. We picked up the little boy. We're at the airport in California, in San Francisco. We're just about ready to get on the plane. But Miguel said, what about that lady that wants us to look at the farm for her? And I go, oh, yeah, I forgot about her. So he called her from the airport. And she said, oh, will you do it, please? You need to look up a man named Ted Bernhardt. And we said, is that all you can tell us? And he said, yes, Ted Bernhardt. You'll find him. So we have this little boy. The father gave us $30. The little boy ate $30 worth of food at the airport.
Right.
Miguel's getting madder by the minute, right? And we come to Costa Rica, and we have the phone number of the mother, because she knew we were coming with the little boy. And we called the phone number, and the lady goes, I don't know who you're talking about. And we called her 2 or 3 times, and we said, we have this little boy. She goes, I don't know who you're talking about, and hung up on us. Oh. And Miguel's like, the whole 2 months, we have an 8-year-old boy with us. And I'm going, yeah, I guess. Anyway, we find the little boy, we find the mother, and the little boy gets connected with the mother. And I'm going to cry now because it was so beautiful. She didn't know. I mean, he stole her. She woke up one day and the 3-year-old was gone. So she said, come visit us sometime. While you're in Costa Rica, we have a farm down in the southern part, in the Zona Sur. And we said, okay. So she gave us how to find their farm. And we came and we're there with them. And it turns out that she's married to Ted Bernhardt.
Okay.
And this was the farm. And he took us here. And he had to, his farm is 2 farms down that way. He cut away a path through the jungle and brought us here. And from the top of the road to the river, you could not walk anywhere without a machete. It was completely overgrown. And he took us to the river, and we got in the river and swam, and we go, oh my God, it's beautiful, And so we saw the farm, and then we went and traveled and picked up the boy on the way home and took him to Guatemala. And anyway, then we get back to Maui, Hawaii, and we call the woman. And she goes, I don't think I want to move to Costa Rica. And Miguel looked at me and said, why don't we buy the farm? And I go, no way, we're not moving to Costa Rica, no possible way. And he goes, it was very inexpensive in those days too, by the way. Mm-hmm. I mean, compared to Hawaii, mm-hmm. It was so inexpensive. So he talked me into it, and we bought the farm. That's how we found this farm. It was really magical, because, so then we bought the farm, and we had to sell our business and everything, and we came here, and it was just, it was overgrown. I mean, you couldn't walk anywhere without a machete to get from place to place. So we just decided, and I was a lot younger. I was 30 years younger, so I still have a lot of energy, but not like that, But anyway, and that's how we found the farm. And then the story about how we started our volunteer program. Do you want to hear that now?
Please, yeah.
Okay, so Ed Bernhardt, it's not Ted Bernhardt, it's Ed Bernhardt. He had a volunteer program.
So they just gave you the wrong name.
They gave us the wrong name.
Right?
Yeah.
Because this was 30 years ago, and there was no internet, and there was word of mouth 3,000 miles away.
And how are we going to find Ted Bernhardt in the country? Uh-huh. And we end up going to his house. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, we'll be visiting Ed next week.
Yeah. Oh, good. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. Yeah. So, But, okay, so we had this business in Hawaii, and it was like, if I went away from my office, I would come back and there'd be 30 messages for me. I was on the phone all the time, and it was like, and that's not me. It's not me at all. And so I came here and I thought, I want to be alone. I want to do my music. I want to do my gardening. I want to do my art. I want to be alone. I don't want to be around people. I've been around people for the whole business thing. I want to be alone. So Ed has a volunteer program on his farm, and it was a month long. And when they would be done with they'd come here, and they'd hang out with us. And they decided that was the very beginning of our volunteer program, and it wasn't so bad. It was a couple people, but then the word got out, and tons and tons of people started wanting to come here. And this is another part of the story that's interesting. And I don't want to scare everybody, but I'm going to tell you it, okay? I was getting so burnt out on having people on the farm that one day I said, could you all go to the beach for the weekend? Because I just want to have a day to myself. Do you know this story?
No, I know the feeling.
I just want a day to myself. Miguel was working in the States, and I just wanted to be alone. And I said, could you guys just go to the beach for the weekend? I just want a couple days off, And so they did. And I was so excited. I was so excited about it. And I woke up in the morning and I was alone, and I walked down to the river, and I was gonna get on this rock that I like to get on to meditate all by myself, and I was so happy. And I got bit by a terciopelo.
Whoa.
This was in 2001.
And for those that don't know, a terciopelo is a fleur de lance, or a pit viper snake that's highly venomous and commonly kills not only people, but like horses and stuff. So yeah, that's not a small bite.
And I was here alone.
My goodness.
And so whatever, how that unfolded was, there's another whole part of that, but it turned out that Ed came and got me and carried me up to the top of the hill, and their son found a driver to take me to the hospital. And that was just an experience. There's not a lot of terciopelos. I want to make that known. It was just that one in 2001. It happened right before 9/11. Okay. So meanwhile, I can't walk for like 2 months.
So much for your pleasant little day off, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so I started doing my art. And what I did, I was so upset about getting bit by a snake, because I thought, what did I do to deserve this? What did I do? Why is my karma? How could this happen? So the 2 months that I couldn't walk, I did drawings, and I was afraid. I couldn't even think of going down to the river. I was just like, I was so afraid. And then I would do drawings, and I had the drawing snakes all around me, kissing me, and me kissing snakes. It was the only way that I could work to get through this. And finally, I was told really clearly, you are meant to do this. You have a purpose on this earth in your lifetime, and that purpose is to bring people, let people come to your farm and learn what it is to live this kind of lifestyle. And I just surrendered. And then from then on, which was 2001, we've had thousands of people come through. And I finally just surrendered to it and went, this is what I'm doing. And got totally into it, and I wasn't fighting it anymore. And from then on, I went, this is what I'm doing. And so whenever it would come up in my heart and my mind that, this is so hard, and I would think, oh my God, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I would read the guest book, because I had all of the volunteers sign the book when they left. And most of them, 90% of them said, this place has changed my life in ways that I can't thank you enough for. My life has changed radically, and it's because of this farm and what you've taught us. So I go, this is what I have to do. There's no arguing about it. I have to do this. And so I totally got into it. And sometimes I slip. It's a slippery slope. I go, I want to be alone, but,
Yeah, you're doing the good work.
It's important. Really, it's so important, especially now.
Yeah. So you've got all these 25 years of Lord knows how many hundreds of people that you've hosted here. And out of all the people that want to do something like this, it's pretty common for people to choose to invite others to come and help, right? A volunteer program, a work exchange. Many times it's, They offer free full work exchange, especially like woofing farms that are producing a profit. So there's a lot of programs that they're producing a profit. They've got a system. They plug their volunteers into it. They're washing the eggs or whatever it is, and the farm is making money, and that's feeding the people, housing them, buying new sheets and everything else that it requires. And then there's other programs that require a fee because there's more of an educational element in it, and it's a more varied number of tasks. I think your project and mine are more along those lines, where people are really coming in and they're learning a lot. And so in the course of either one of those options comes in any number of challenges with making the program sustainable for the host as much as for the guests. And so I don't know, do you have any maybe advice that you could share for people that want to get a volunteer program started, whether there's a fee included or not, and just maybe even what you think about the difference between the two?
Yeah, that would be good. I think it depends, like you said, on if the farm is producing a lot and getting a lot of income, whether you can charge a volunteer or not. In this case, we don't get a lot of income. We don't have a lot of, we're not selling a lot of stuff. We sell some stuff, but we have always charged very little, and we provide a lot of food, but I've never heard anybody complain about that at all, ever. And in fact, they always want to give me more than what I'm asking for. This is, there are some people that have done work exchange here over the years. Like when I find someone who is super sharp and super together, usually a Virgo or something, they become my farm manager, and that's a work exchange. That's a complete work exchange. Other than that, people pay, and it's not that much. It helps us with our expenses, and but here, they're learning so much here. It isn't just gardening and farming. It's, we teach medicinal medicine, how to make medicinal medicines, how to do all kinds of cooking things, and kombucha and making the medicines has been really an amazing experience for a lot of people.
Can I ask you what kind of medicines that?
It's just, salves. We make salves out of, our plants. And we do prayers on the plants. We talk to the plants before we pick them. And people have, a lot of people have gone off and it's become their career, what they do, But, they're learning a lot here on this farm. And I would suggest, it depends on where someone's wanting to do this. Like if they're in a place where, they're producing a lot of stuff and getting a lot of income, yes, work exchange I would do work exchange. I would have done work exchange here, but the cost of living here has gone up and up and up and up. So it's not possible for us to do. It's easier for me to not have anybody here than to have, but now I'm dependent on the income of the volunteers because of what we're going through right now. I don't know if that's important, but I think it's a great experience if you have a piece of property, either with yourself or with a community of people, to have people come and be on that and experience not only what they're doing on the farm, the gardening and the farming and the animal care and all the different things they're learning, just to be in a group of people where they're learning how to communicate, which in my mind is super important. To communicate with each other, especially if you're living together, you're going to go through things, and how to do mindful communication and nonviolent communication. So I think having volunteers is a really great thing for everybody. And I think it's going to be a helpful thing in the world too, to have people who know how to communicate well. And then also, right now, I don't know if this is part of what we are talking about, but because of what the world is going through right now and the chaos that's happening, having a place to grow food and have people there helping you growing food is essential. It's the most important thing we could be learning right now on this planet, you know? So anyway, and then we talked about, I'd like to talk about the whole thing. I like to teach people all the things that I know here, and it feels really good. But my main thing that I want to teach people, and we talked about this, is to find out what they're passionate about. And it might not be this. It might be something else. But, you know, they don't even address that anymore, like what you're passionate about. So that's, you know, to me, this is my passion. And a lot of people that come here, this becomes their passion. But if it's not, it's okay. But it's important to find your passion, because you're living a life. You want to do something that you love all the time. And I love everything I do.
Yes.
There's not one thing I do that I don't love doing, you know. So, and it's made my life so rich and so full and so beautiful.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's really, for me too, as much as I've gotten into other things over the years, this whole paradigm of giving people opportunities to explore themselves, explore more natural ways, more connected ways of living, communally, internal work, all of that, besides just, learning more about growing food and all of that. It's the one thing that I can really get behind a passion for and sustain. So I get it, yeah. When you talk about having, both you've talked about having communication skills being an important part of the program, as well as passion. Is there anything that you do actively in your program to help people nurture these conditions or attributes or explorations?
Yes, there is. Like we have, you know, group meetings like once or twice a week.
Okay. And
it's all based on communication and because like when you're living in a group of people, there's always going to be problems. You know, everybody's ego becomes, it's impossible to not have your ego take over, you know. And so we end up having discussions when there's a problem between some people. We sit, we talk about it, we do nonviolent communication, and it works. You know, I have really learned that any relationship, it's got to have good communication. That's number one.
And good communication comes with training for most of us. We have to relearn it because
exactly
where we grew up and our environment doesn't necessarily train us in that at a young age.
Right.
And if anything, our egos are given merit to go off as often as it wants. So in these weekly meetings, do you find that you're actively teaching people how to rephrase what they're saying?
Definitely. And oftentimes the people that are at the meetings, the volunteers that are here, know more than I do about that, because they've been involved in, you know, groups, and they've been teaching nonviolent communication and all that. And so, I mean, I've learned a lot from them.
Yeah. I know at my place, we've had a pattern of having weekly meetings, and depending on how many people and how active it is, we tried at one point having like 2 meetings a week where we'd have a logistics meeting at the beginning of the week. Like, okay, this is the focus for the week. Everybody knows your tasks. There's the board. These are the things that you're going to attend to. And then we would have either that same week, or we would alternate the meetings week to week, where there would be just a heart circle where everyone would be talking about their experience living together, and we wouldn't really get too much logistics involved in that. Is that something that you are determined to keep separate in your meetings?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what kind of frequency do you tend to work with?
I think we did one a week. I think we did 1 or 2 a week, but that was always like the first day of the week was always, okay, what are we doing this week? Here's the bulletin board. These are all the tasks that need to happen. Sign up for whatever you want to do. And, you know, that was always tasks and that kind of thing. And then the other meeting was more heart to heart, you know, trying to get through any problems that that people have, which there always are, and getting through them, you know. And we've had also men's groups and women's groups separate too at times, where the men meet and do their men's group and women meet and do their women's, and then we've had together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it works. It works, but all three are important.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as passion, cultivating passion, is that just kind of like a one-on-one thing you do when you find somebody that's potent for it, or have any kind of formal approach to that?
It's all done while we're working.
Yeah.
A lot gets done while we're working. A lot of what I really want to pass on and teach gets done while we're working. And the working is just that we're doing something, we're present, we're in the moment, and then we start talking about things and just to show people how, oh, I have to weed that whole field. And then it's like, oh, I get to weed that whole field.
Together with these amazing people.
And be singing or being in the moment, or have, when you're present, when you're in the present moment doing something, it's so satisfying. It is so satisfying. So, yeah, a lot of what I personally teach is not even the farming and gardening and all that other stuff. It's what I want to see people, do what they love in the world. I want them to spend their life doing what they love. And the universe, it supports that. So, and I mean, when you're living a life in a big city, in a country where, you got to go to work and it's like people have to do that, but it would be wonderful if people can do that with something they love. I really feel that's important. That's one of the most important things, And our culture, like I'll tell you, every time I have a volunteer come through here and we're sitting in the garden and we're weeding and talking, or we're doing transplants or whatever, I go, well, what's your passion? What do you love doing? What is the thing that you love doing most in the world? And they go, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Because our society does not care what your passion is. It doesn't care. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And like people spend their whole life doing something they don't even want to do, and then they're done working and they're retired, and then they're lost. So I'm dealing with a lot of really young people too, and so I'm trying to plant seeds, those kind of seeds, besides the seeds that we're planting in the garden, like seeds of like, enjoy your life, make your life special, make every day special, make everything you do special.
It helps to have those reminders.
Oof.
Yeah. So all of us need those reminders from each other, from one time to another. Yeah.
I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing that comes up with a lot of volunteer programs is it's sometimes, especially with unskilled people that are trying to learn, and you've only got so much attention you can give to each one of them at any given time, and then you've got your own personal things you need to tend to as well. How have you dealt with situations? I guess I'm assuming that you've had times where people weren't really following through with their commitment, for instance. And, on an occasion, that's not a big deal. But when you've got somebody here for a month or 3 and they're just chronically late to start, early to quit, taking lots of breaks, it's, people come they want a work exchange, but they want a working vacation, right? And so they come and they're like, oh, I'm going to work exchange and have my vacation. But then they have those days where they're like, oh, but I actually just want to be on vacation. I want to go to the beach. I want to go to the river. Or they get sick and they're like, oh, well, I was sick for a few days. I know you kept feeding me and I was in your bed, but or they go on a town trip or for an overnight, and then they come back and they need like a whole day just to re-arrive and get settled back in. And in some cases, it's not a big deal, but it can become chronic with some people that don't have a lot of self-discipline or self-motivation to jump into things that they're maybe not even really too familiar with. And so how do you handle that when that kind of thing comes up?
That's a great question, because of all the years I've been here, I'll start from the beginning. I always say to people, I want you to be happy doing what you're doing. I want you to feel really good doing what you're doing here. And if you don't feel good doing it, I don't want you to do it, because I don't want that energy in my food or in my space. So I'll give you one example. I see a guy working in the garden and I can tell he's not happy. I can tell he's not enjoying himself. And so I walk up to him and I go, Are you happy? Are you enjoying doing this gardening? And he goes, well, to be honest, not really. My wife is here and she wanted to do this and she wanted me to come with her. And so I'm here. And I go, okay, that makes sense. What do you like doing? He goes, well, I'm an artist. And I go, really? And so I take him by the hand and I walk him into the volunteer house and I say, see that wall? Paint that wall. And wait till you see it. Mm-hmm. Wait till you see what this guy painted on the wall in the kitchen. You'll see it today.
Okay.
It is so amazing. Okay, so basically I tell people I want you to do what you want to do. Okay, if you're doing a job you don't like, come and tell me. And so they, most of the time they're happy doing what they're doing. Sometimes they're not, and I'll give them something else to do. But this year, I had a young man here who was stuck here because of the pandemic. And I told him, I don't want you really doing anything that you don't want to do. He stayed in his hammock the whole time.
Okay.
And I went, oh my God, this is the first time this has happened.
The first time?
It was the first time.
You're good at this.
That anybody has ever listened to me and like done and gone that far and said, yeah, okay. And he didn't, and it was making all the other volunteers really upset.
Right.
Because he wasn't doing anything. But he said, you said I don't need to do it if I don't want to, and I don't want to do it. And I said, okay. So it was a lesson for me. It was a good lesson for me to say, you're going to have to do something, but it's not, we'll figure out what you can do, but it's not just sit around in a hammock all day.
Right. So redirecting passions is a major component to getting people to follow through with their commitment.
Exactly.
Right? That's a huge lesson. That's a huge takeaway, because that one little action of you can see somebody not pulling through or not doing a good job, and it's super easy to get disappointed, to develop an opinion, and all the emotions and reactions that can come with that. And your approach is to be like, wait a minute, actually, maybe there's something else going on and we just need to find out what it is.
Exactly.
And so taking the time to do that is super impressive. But you're saying that in all the years you've been here, you've got, what is the commitment? Like how many hours per day? 4 hours per day?
A day. And the rest
5
of the
days
day,
a week?
5 days a week. And the rest of the time they are here, they can do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. So 4 hours they are on. And it's been really helpful, It's been just, but I have to say one thing too, that I had to learn, and it was not easy for me, that they're not going to do it as good as I do it.
Right.
I had to learn that. And that was hard because, and at the first times when they were doing something and it wasn't as good as I would do it, and then the plants died, or you could tell that it wasn't the right way of doing it. I finally went, well, I can do it again. I can start over. I've had to start over many times.
Yeah.
Many times. But it was worth it. Mm-hmm. And I taught them how to do it right, But it was challenging too, because I could do it all better than anybody.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the elements to contend with, is that feeling, and then remembering like, yes, I could do any one of those things better, faster, whatever than they are. And I can't do everything. I need help. And really the path toward that is humility, compassion, patience, surrender, knowing that I've had to redo my own projects enough times that there's no point in getting upset over having to redo somebody else's. Yeah, those are important elements to keep in mind to stay sane. And
can I tell you one really funny story? There was this guy here, and he was doing transplants for me, and I just decided I was going to say something, and I said, you have to sing while you're doing that. He goes, I don't really know how to sing. I go, you know songs, and there's not going to be anybody around you. You're going to be all by yourself. You need to sing. And it was a whole big section, right? And each person had their own section. And he was on that one section the one day. And I don't even know why I said that, but I said, you have to sing. And I left. And he was there by himself. And I heard him singing, okay? And then he left and went on a vacation, and he came back. His plants on his section were the best of the whole entire row. Okay. And I said, come and see. This is because you were singing.
Okay.
I don't even know why I did it. It was funny, but it was true, He was all embarrassed, but it worked out really well.
So you mentioned something about whether you have a manager or not. And I know for myself, that is a huge deal. I've got more that I'm doing outside of the farm and family needs and all kinds of stuff. And really, for me, running the program without a manager at this point in my journey is not very practical. And when I've been in between managers, really I'm like you said, I'd rather have nobody there than be concerned with people not having their needs met, which really my attention is one of their needs. And right now our program's going through transition, and I don't have any really regular maintenance needs going on. And I'm lucky enough to have a really great employee from our pueblo that's keeping up with some things. But the other side of that is when we do have a manager, it is fabulous. It's so awesome to have that person who just gets it. They're part of the team. They know how to do stuff. They're good communicators. And then, it's heaven. And then, of course, like all things, it passes and you're back to looking or hoping or praying. And I'm just wondering, do you have any advice in finding good managers?
I do. And here's what people will say, I'm going to have a hard time, I think, paying. I want to be there for 6 months or a year or something, and I don't think I can pay the whole time. And I'll say, okay, how would you feel about paying for 1 month and see how it goes? And then you can be my farm manager. So they have to pay the first month, and I see how they work. And sometimes it's not going to work. Yeah. And sometimes it is. And when it does work, and I see this person have all those qualities that you had mentioned, I go, okay, you can be my manager. And I love having a manager. So you know what that's like. It's like you tell the manager, they get everybody ready, they put everyone on their jobs. When new people come, they find their beds, they get them set up, they do a whole meeting with them, an orientation. It's great. I don't know if this is going to sound weird or not, but like Capricorns and Virgos make the best managers.
Okay. You put that on the application? That's your sun sign?
When I hear that, no, I don't. But when I hear that, I go, well, this looks like it might work. Because they're so, wanting things perfect. So yeah, I think that I give them a 1 month trial.
And then after that, do you have like a minimum stay requirement before you make that agreement?
No.
Hope for the best.
I don't like people I don't even have a minimum stay agreement even before they come here. Like a lot of people do say you have to stay a month or da-da-da. I don't even, how can anyone know if they want to stay until they're here and they feel comfortable and they feel like this is where they want to be, And once they're here, I don't have a minimum, but people usually stay longer than they were ever going to plan on staying anyway. And
do you have any crossover? Do you have a program for volunteers and a separate kind of arrangement for guests that don't want to work, or is everybody who come here required to contribute?
No, I have guests too.
You have guests. Yeah, and they just pay a little bit more and they're on their own.
Yeah, and we have a little cabin that we sometimes rent to people, but we, have company too that don't pay anything. Family come or friends come, but most of the time it's volunteers. It really is.
All right. Great. And those volunteers generally find you how?
They find me on, I think, Volunteer Latin America, I think is the name. Most of it, I would say the majority is word of mouth.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And if anyone listening to this wants to find you, how can they find you?
They can find me through, I have a Facebook page called Finca Amrta.
Okay.
And also I have an email account, just Amrita Sa, a socio-anonymous at yahoo.com. That's mostly how people do it. Yeah, but it's so much mostly word of mouth, really. And also Volunteer Latin America has us too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Great. Yeah, we'll put the links to your website and your Facebook page on the show notes of the episode. But just for anyone who's listening, Amrta is spelled Amrta. So Finca Amrta there's no I, even though you might imagine that there is when hearing it.
It's a Sanskrit word, and there's 2 dots over the R, which turns the into a re.
I see. Okay. Tell us about Amrta. Where does that name come from? Why'd you choose it?
It's the essence of the divine, is what it means. And it's just this earth. It's Mother Earth.
Beautiful.
It's really what it comes from.
All right. Well, we're at the end here. Do you have any last parting words of advice for a young landowner that wants to make it work?
It's a wonderful gift to give to the planet. It really is. And especially during these times, it's a wonderful gift to teach people how to be on the earth and to work on the earth and to breathe the fresh air and to go in the river and breathe, and have the electrolytes in the river covering them, and to be in community and to have other people and to cook together. I think it's one of the best gifts we can give to anybody. And really, I've enjoyed, it's been an amazing experience, really. And I've seen people literally come off their meds here, which completely scared me. But I've had people say, I'm stopping my meds. I'm going, no, you can't. You have to, let me look up the name of it. And it says, you can't just stop it. And they look me straight in the eye, Jason, and go, I am getting off my meds today. And I'm scared, but then I go, okay, if anything happens, you come and get me. It's never happened, and they're still off their meds. And this is like years and years.
How fortunate.
And it's because of the earth. It's because of the earth. Their feet are on the earth. They're breathing the air. They're eating good food. They're around good energy. And, people are on meds because they're living in a society that's really hard on anyone that's sensitive in any way.
Yeah.
So,
well, these meds they're chemicals, and they are designed to alter our chemistry for a desired effect. And there just happen to be other ways to alter our chemistry.
Exactly.
Like the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the company we keep, the emotions we allow to circulate, which affects our adrenals and hormones and all of that. And yeah, there are definitely multiple ways to affect chemistry, and everybody's dealing with something different. So
it's true.
Not giving any advice here, but I have seen similar cases where people have come to our farm and made that determination, and it wasn't always easy, but they felt supported.
Exactly.
And they felt like it was a safe place for them to be themselves and to go through the process and trust in their own heart and their ability to evolve. And yeah, it's beautiful to see.
It's beautiful. It's such a gift just to put young people on Mother Earth, because, how many kids get up in the morning, get in the car, go to school all day on the cement, go home, never touch the earth.
Yeah.
Never touch the earth.
No, it impacts one tremendously.
Yeah.
I was here for 7 years. I went back to the States for 4 years, and I've been back for the last year, and I've noticed the difference drastically, dramatically, just full body, full being shift in being able to be in this environment.
It's amazing. It's so healing. It's so healing. Thank you so much for... It's
been such a pleasure.
Yeah.
The rains are coming in.
It's
telling us
it's
time to go ahead and say goodbye to everyone. And we'll Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for doing what you're doing. I mean, this is really important what you're doing. Really important.
Thank you for that affirmation.
And that is our visit with Suzanna Leff. The podcasting has finally begun. Deep gratitude to Suzanna and the light that she's been in this community for so many years. I've always been impressed with Suzanna's dedication for supporting her guests' personal needs and helping them find and express their passions. But even more so, that this has been her primary marketing tactic all these years. People feel regularly compelled to spread the word about her place. If Suzanna's story has sparked you in a special kind of way, Finca Amrta does currently have a couple of lots for sale. At the time of this recording, there are 2 prime house sites available with commercial potential. It's a rural setting right next to a river, but it's close to town. If you're interested at all, her contact info can be found in the show notes. Personally, my early years traveling around the Americas, volunteering at various farms and communities left a strong imprint on me to want to not only continue that lifestyle, but to make it more accessible to others as well. It isn't always easy to live this lifestyle, and it takes a significant degree of personal growth to sustain it. But if we humans are going to make it through the changes to come, we're going to need more earth stewards and training grounds to guide them. If this topic interests you, make sure to subscribe to the Sharing Insights podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and be sure to leave a review so others can find us more easily. Be sure to check out the show notes too for some links to resources that came up in our conversation. You'll also find there a link to a video that we took of Suzanna's farm. We checked out her greenhouse, gardens, volunteer kitchen, a little something to round out the story. That's all for now. Thanks for listening.